Hey you, watching this video, take a breath, look around. You live in a world of thermostats, grocery stores, and glowing screens. Cities, lights, fire on command, a roof that doesn't leak. The world you know is a recent invention, but fate wasn't that kind to our ancestors. 100,000 years before, the world was on the brink of change. Something devastating was coming. The signs were subtle at first. Colder winds, erratic seasons, the sun lingering just a little less each day. The rains shifted. The animals began to move. Humans thought it was just a regular winter. A long one, perhaps, but it would pass. But they didn't know. This winter would stay for 100,000 years, gripping the earth in ice, testing every living thing in ways nature never had before. The forests began to die, the rivers froze, glaciers stretched from horizon to horizon, and humans were barely holding on. This was the last glacial period, a time when survival wasn't just a challenge, it was a miracle. Homo sapiens had fire, yes, but the wind could still kill you in minutes. They had tools, but the prey was vanishing. They had just each other. In the beginning, there existed several other human species, Neanderthals, Denisovans, Homo floresiensis. But when the ice finally began to melt, only one remained: us. So what gave us the edge? Was it intelligence, cooperation, or just sheer luck? This is the story of how Homo sapiens survived the most brutal chapter in Earth's history. When we think of the Ice Age, we often imagine a single, frozen chapter in Earth's history. But here's the twist. There have been at least 5 major ice ages in the planet's past, and we're still living in one right now. Surprised? Most people are. The current Ice Age, known as the Quaternary Ice Age, began around 2.6 million years ago. But here's the thing. We're in a warmer phase of it today. That's because ice ages aren't just endless winters. They're divided into colder glacial periods and warmer interglacial periods. Right now, we're in an interglacial period which began about 11,700 years ago. But before that, Earth wasn't just cold, it was unforgiving. That glacial period began approximately 115,000 years ago, and it peaked from 26,500 to 19,000 years ago, known as the last glacial maximum. The global temperature dropped by 6 to 8 degrees Celsius on average. Massive ice sheets covered most of North America, Europe, and Asia, locking up so much water that global sea levels dropped by about 120 meters. Many regions became not only frigid but also extremely dry. Deserts expanded, rainforests shrank, and much of the world was swept by powerful winds and frequent dust storms. Ice core data shows atmospheric dust levels were up to 25 times higher than today. Finding food? Rare. Most large animals had either moved, died, or become harder to hunt. Finding shelter? Even harder. Open plains became howling, icy wastelands. Caves were few and often already occupied by animals or rival humans. Each night was a gamble. Each day a test of endurance. Some scientists believe this was the moment humans nearly went extinct. Studies suggest that during the last glacial maximum, our population may have dropped to as low as 1,000 breeding pairs. This insight emerged when researchers compared DNA from both modern and ancient humans and discovered strikingly low genetic diversity. Such a pattern indicates that only a small number of individuals were contributing to the gene pool at the time, a hallmark of a population bottleneck. Using mathematical models that trace the ancestry of gene copies backward through time, scientists estimated that the effective population size may have fallen to just 1,000 to 10,000 breeding individuals worldwide. Think about that! Fewer people than a small town. And yet we didn't disappear. We adapted. We evolved. The first challenge was the cold. Bone-deep, breath-stealing cold that seeped into every crack of the world. So, what did we do? We fought back with fire. Not just flames in the dark, but heat harnessed and bent to our will. We learned to build hearths inside caves, to keep the warmth in and the frost out. Archaeological evidence, such as layered ash deposits, structured fire pits, suggests we weren't just using fire occasionally. We were living with it. It cooked our food, lit our nights, scared off predators, and turned frozen caves into homes. Apart from fire, we made tailored clothing, likely stitched furs from animals like reindeer, bison, or even wolves. Bone needles discovered in sites like Kostenki in Russia date back to around 40,000 years ago. These tools suggest we weren't just wrapping hides around us, we were sewing garments, shaping them for fit and insulation. Although clothing might have started even earlier, how do we know? Not from the clothes themselves, they've long decayed, but from lice. Yes, lice. DNA analysis of clothing lice shows they diverged from head lice between 170,000 to 83,000 years ago, implying that humans began wearing clothes sometime in that window. We didn't just wear animals, we lived inside them. Shelters made of hides, wooden frames, and massive mammoth bones have been uncovered, particularly at sites like Majirich in Ukraine, where entire structures were built from mammoth skulls, jaws, and tusk. These remarkable dwellings stand as early evidence of human ingenuity, turning death into warmth. The second challenge was food. Before the last glacial period tightened its grip, early humans had a steady diet, even if it rested on uncertain ground. They gathered a wide variety of edible plants, including wild fruits, seeds, and nuts, which were abundant and seasonally available. Alongside this plant-based fare, they hunted a diverse range of animals, such as red deer, wild boar, aurochs, ibex, and wild horses. These species thrived in the temperate woodlands and open plains of the warmer world. This combination provided a rich and varied food supply. But as the last glacial period began, ecosystems shifted dramatically. Forests receded and cold, arid steppe tundra environments expanded. The herds of large animals humans once relied on began to vanish. In these harsher conditions, humans had to rely more on hardier, cold-adapted plants such as roots, tubers, and wild grasses. Humans also started targeting cold-adapted megafauna such as steppe bison, reindeer, musk oxen, and ice age horses. It was during this period that humans started hunting woolly mammoths, a remarkable display of teamwork, innovation, and resilience. Apart from food and shelter, one critical aspect of survival was sticking together, and we have clues that show we got better at it. Archaeological discoveries like the burial site in Sungir, Russia, dated to over 34,000 years ago, reveal individuals were carefully laid to rest with grave goods. Some were buried with flowers, others with mammoth ivory spears. This wasn't just disposal, it was remembrance. It suggests we had emotions deep enough to mourn, memories long enough to honor, and maybe even beliefs that stretched beyond life. To hold together under such brutal conditions, humans likely leaned on their most powerful tool, language. The ability to communicate plans, pass down knowledge, share fears and dreams. It bounded us. Complex language may have helped us coordinate hunts, raise children, tell stories around firelight, and forge the kind of unity no other species could match. During this period, a variety of art forms emerged across Europe and Asia, including cave paintings, bone carvings, and small sculptures. It features depictions of animals, hand stencils, abstract symbols, and geometric patterns, often found deep within caves, suggesting ritual or symbolic significance. Among the most iconic of these are the Venus figurines, small sculptures distinguished by exaggerated features such as large breasts and rounded bellies. Over 200 of these figurines have been discovered to date, dating from approximately 40,000 to 10,000 BCE. Their distribution spans a vast geographic range from France in the west to Siberia in the east. What did these artworks mean? Some believe the Venus figures were fertility symbols. Theories suggest they were amulets for safe childbirth, while others think they may have represented a mother goddess. A modern theory suggests that during the last glacial maximum, food scarcity and cold made body fat a symbol of security and abundance. The figurines may reflect an idealized body type, a well-nourished woman capable of surviving harsh climates and bearing children. Another remarkable discovery is the Lion Man statue, a human body but with the head of a cave lion. It was carved from mammoth ivory around 40,000 years ago. It stands as the oldest known depiction of a creature that never existed, a product of pure imagination. It is widely interpreted as a shaman in a trance state. In many traditional cultures, shamans are believed to be individuals who spiritually transform into animals to access hidden realms, seek guidance, or perform healing. The Lion Man may have played a role in ritual or ceremonial practices. These art forms reflect a profound cognitive leap, the emergence of the ability to imagine, symbolize, and communicate abstract ideas. One intriguing theory suggests that this explosion of creativity may have been in part a result of the isolation forced by harsh glacial climates. Trapped in caves by the cold, early humans may have turned inward, and in the stillness of boredom, they found space to dream, imagine, and express. Recent studies support this idea, confirming that boredom can be a powerful catalyst for creativity. As massive ice sheets expanded across northern Europe, Asia, and North America, vast regions became uninhabitable. In response, early humans engaged in repeated migrations during this period. They moved toward more temperate regions, often by following migrating herds of animals, as evidence shows that human settlement sites frequently align with ancient animal migration corridors. In a way, the intense cold actually helped human migration. As sea levels dropped by over 120 meters, vast portions of land emerged, forming frozen corridors and bridges that guided their movement across continents. One of the most significant was Beringia, a land bridge connecting Siberia and Alaska. This icy highway allowed humans to move from Asia into the Americas. Compelling archaeological discoveries, such as genetic markers in indigenous American populations, strongly support this prehistoric journey. Other migrations happened too, from the Middle East into Europe, from Central Asia into India, and eventually into Southeast Asia and Australia. These journeys weren't just wanderings, they were desperate moves toward refugia, pockets of the world with gentler climates where life could still cling on. And like that, human voices began to echo across every corner of the world. Around 11,700 years ago, the ice started melting. The endless winter was finally coming to an end. Temperatures started rising. Forests returned where once only tundra stretched. Rivers flowed freely again. The land softened, and the ice, after tens of thousands of years, retreated north. This transition marked the end of the Pleistocene and the beginning of the Holocene, the age we live in now. The world completely transformed. Animals migrated, new plants emerged, and humans, we were still there, perhaps exhaling in quiet relief. This was the threshold of something profound, a shift that would shape every generation to come. This was the dawn of the agricultural revolution. Hunter-gatherers became farmers. They sowed seeds not just into soil, but into the future. Agriculture allowed people to settle, first in villages, then towns, and eventually cities. Farming produced food surpluses enough to store and share. At the time, it must have felt like triumph, like progress, like control over nature itself. After all, what could have possibly go wrong?